Okay, so we're doing good for time as well. Okay, so I'm going to change again to another project, because here I want to show kind of a couple of the smaller things that, well, they seem small, but actually they're quite powerful as well, of, again, making life easier for our customers as well. Okay, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to connect to a robot I've got here in the room with me as well. That message. So again, that message was saying there was an incompatibility on the firmware. One of the things that we've improved is if we have customers that are using an older Robot 50 or 60, there's an option now with that to remember that message and not show it again. So they don't have to press this every time that they turn on the unit as well. Okay, so here we have our nice and standard IFC file, okay, which I'm going to start with showing you an improvement into the as-built walls option. So the as-built walls setup is really ideal to kind of where we want everything referenced from the corner of a room or the intersection of two lines, but we can't physically measure it accurately. What we do is follow the wizard. Let me turn the laser on. So I'm now at the robot. I'm going to start measuring in a couple of points. So again, whether I'm using an ICT30 layout tool, the ICR70, or the ICR80, I've got the measure button on board, so I don't need to keep coming back to the tablet right now. So first point measured. Second point measured. Now moving on to another wall. Measure my first point. And there are tolerances set in here that we don't allow for a deviation off that line of more than a degree. So it means that we have to be straight. If our walls aren't straight, then it will tell us. And I found this out this morning testing it, because the center of a wall in my office is not straight. So I've now set this up. As you can see, it's arbitrary in the middle of the room, but what I can do is I can shift it. So, and I'm going to put it into the corner over here. So I'll zoom in. There we go. And I will select this wall, and then that line, this wall, that line. You see now it shifted me. It shifted my position to fit with the walls in my environment or on my project. What is also new is sometimes you can get it that actually how you've measured the points and how your walls are means that they don't tie up perfectly, but they actually need to rotate by 90 degrees to get right. We've added this new button which allows us to actually rotate it around the origin point now, so that actually it'll fit better into the room. Once this is set up, we have the option, as always, to do a backup, which means that we can measure additional control points that if we move the instrument, then we can measure to the retro targets or to prisms. That means that we don't have to do the setup walls every time and have data in different places. We stay in our project coordinate system as well. So I'm nicely in here, but because essentially what I've done is just a control line, this has no height information applied to it. So there's no station height, there's no instrument height. Okay, so we've always been able to do, we have our transfer height option. So whether that's a mark on the wall, it's a reference point on the ground that we need to work with, we can come straight in. I've pointed it straight to the ground and I want to call it 0, but I may want to call it 50 to fit. And again, I just measure that point. So, yeah, sorry, and stop. So it shows. In previous versions of the Icon Field software, when we did a transfer height, this little orange point, which is our reference, was given the coordinates of 0, 0, which then made it quite frustrating when you wanted to zoom extents on your file, because you could get a very, very big zoom. So instead of being at kind of a 10-meter distance, you may be at 1,000 meters or more. What we've done now is we take the coordinates and we just put the point directly underneath it. So now when we zoom out, it's all there. Okay. So again, taking away some of those pain points for customers and allowing it to be much better as well. Okay, so let's point it off for a second. The last item that I want to show you today is, again, a improvement in our window search. So ideal for when we're working on a busy construction site, whereby it's not just us working or our customers working, but there might be more than one robot. There might be a lot of prisms working there. What we can do is define that corner. We could always define this window area that we could work with. So then when the instrument would perform a power search, it would be limited inside of this search window, which is really good, but we never had the option of having a minimum or a maximum search as well before. For example, if I only want to work within a 25-meter range, this means now if it finds a prism beyond that distance, it will ignore it. And it will only search inside of that window. So where we have busy construction sites, and in some countries you may have 4 or 5 robots working away on a project, it can be frustrating if it's finding each one of those, but now we can set up the routine to really simplify that process, that if we lose the prism, we get back to it quickly, and we get back to the right prism quickly as well. So then when we go into our search settings, when we lose the prism, we have our prediction. Then I can say, well, the first thing I want you to do is do a cube search, because that's a fairly small box around my prism. If you don't find it there, because I've stepped out of that cube search area, then I want you to do the window search inside that area I've defined. And if I've really gone off track and I'm outside of that area I've defined, do a power search afterwards as well. If you combine this also now with dynamic lock on the ICR80, you're going to find your prism really, really quick without having to press a button, which really simplifies the routines for our customers out there.